A lot of people do not fail budgeting because they are careless. They fail because their budget only works when life behaves. And that matters, because a budget can look responsible on paper and still leave you feeling behind, disorganized, and strangely guilty by the end of the month. By the end of this video, you should have a much clearer way to tell whether your budget is actually weak or whether it was just built for a version of life that almost never happens. Budgeting feels responsible for a reason. It looks like adulthood. It looks like discipline. It looks like control. You list the bills, assign the categories, and tell yourself this month will be tighter, cleaner, more intentional. And for a few weeks, maybe it works. Then the car needs tires, a birthday comes up, a yearly subscription renews, your electricity bill jumps, you need to book a train, replace a jacket, cover a school expense, pay for a dentist visit, or deal with something else that is not dramatic enough to feel like an emergency, but still expensive enough to knock the month off course. Now the budget is off again, and this is where a lot of people learn the wrong lesson. They assume the problem is discipline. They assume they need to try harder, track more closely, be stricter, and feel worse earlier. But that is not always what is happening. Sometimes the issue is not that you are bad at money. Sometimes the issue is that your budget was built like a clean spreadsheet for a calm month while your real life keeps acting like real life. That is the reframe here. A lot of budgets do a decent job of tracking bills. Far fewer do a good job of handling life. Those are not the same thing. A bill tracking budget usually covers the obvious monthly expenses: rent or mortgage, groceries, fuel, internet, phone, maybe subscriptions, maybe savings. That part is useful. You should know those numbers. But many people stop there. And when you stop there, you are not really budgeting your life. You're budgeting your visible monthly obligations, which is a narrower thing. The difference matters because your financial life is not made only of monthly bills. It is also made of irregular but predictable costs. That phrase matters: irregular but predictable. A lot of what breaks a budget is not random, it is just uneven. Car maintenance is uneven, medical costs are uneven, gifts are uneven, travel is uneven, back-to-school spending is uneven, clothes replacement is uneven, home repairs are uneven, annual fees are uneven. None of that is shocking. None of it should be treated like lightning from the sky. If your budget acts surprised every time normal life gets expensive, then the budget is not very strong yet. Imagine someone brings home $4,000 a month after tax and builds what looks like a responsible budget. They set aside $1,500 for housing, $500 for groceries, $250 for transport, $200 for utilities, $150 for insurance, $150 for subscriptions, phone and internet, $500 to savings and investing, and the rest for general spending. That can look clean. It can even look disciplined. But then real life starts adding friction. A $600 car repair in April, a $300 flight for a family event in June, a $250 annual subscription renewal in July, a $400 medical bill in September, a few birthdays, a wedding gift, winter clothes, a broken appliance. If your real life keeps adding even $200 a month of uneven costs on average, that is $2,400 a year your budget was not really making room for. None of those things mean the person is reckless. They mean the person has a life. And if the budget only works in the months where none of that happens, then it is not really a system. It is a plan that only works under easy conditions. That is why budgeting can feel so personal when it fails. A lot of people do not experience it as a weak design. They experience it as a character flaw. They think, I knew what I was supposed to do and I still did not hold the line. But a line that breaks every time the month gets slightly uneven was probably too brittle to begin with. Now, to be fair, sometimes the problem really is overspending. Sometimes people are avoiding the numbers. Sometimes lifestyle creep is the issue. Sometimes there is too much leakage, too much impulse spending, too much soft rationalization. That happens. But this video is about a different problem. It is about people who are trying, people who are reasonably responsible, people who are not blowing money every weekend, and who still feel like budgeting never quite sticks. For that group, it helps to separate three different problems. The first is overspending. You are spending more than you can support, often in ways that are optional. The second is weak planning. You have not looked closely enough at where the money goes, so the month keeps surprising you. The third is brittle design. You did plan, you did track, but the plan has no room for an uneven life, so it keeps failing under normal pressure. Those are not the same problem, and they should not get the same answer. If the issue is overspending, then yes, behavior matters. If the issue is weak planning, then visibility matters. But if the issue is brittle design, then more shame and more strictness may not fix much. You may just end up running a more detailed version of the same weak system. This is also why some people do better with budgeting than others, even at the same income. Take two people, each earning $4,500 a month. One lives alone, has no car, no kids, very stable bills, and a decent cash cushion. After the core bills are paid, maybe they still have $1,200 of breathing room in a normal month. Their costs are boring in the best way, and a classic monthly budget may work pretty well for them. The other has a car, a family, school-related costs, seasonal expenses, and a little less breathing room. Same income, but maybe only $300 is left after the core bills. Same income, very different cash flow shape. The second person is not automatically worse at money. They are just managing a more uneven system. And that distinction matters because otherwise people keep comparing their results to someone whose life is structurally easier to budget. There is one more problem here that does not get enough attention, and that is timing. A lot of money stress is not only about total cost, it is also about when the cost hits. You can afford something in the big picture and still struggle to absorb it this month. That is one reason budgets feel so confusing. A person can honestly say, I make enough, so why does this still feel tight? Because affordability is not only about annual income, it is also about monthly absorbency. A $500 expense in a month with extra margin feels manageable. That same $500 in a month already packed with bills feels like failure. The total cost did not change, the timing did. So what should a stronger budgeting system do? First, it should cover more than bills. Second, it should assume that irregular expenses are part of normal life. Third, it should include some margin, not fantasy margin, real margin. That could mean a small monthly repair reserve, a gift category, a travel buffer, a home maintenance buffer, or a separate holding area for annual subscriptions and other true expenses. Even something as simple as setting aside $50 to $100 a month for car repairs changes the honesty of the system. Why? Because it stops pretending the future will be frictionless. Let's say you set aside $75 a month for car and transport surprises, $50 a month for gifts and social obligations, $50 a month for annual fees and random renewals, and $75 a month for home or household replacement. That is $250 a month. At first, that can feel discouraging because it makes the budget look tighter. But that is exactly why it is useful. A budget is not supposed to flatter your life. It is supposed to describe it well enough that you can steer it. And yes, if adding realistic categories makes the month feel too tight, that tells you something important. Maybe the issue is not that you cannot stick to a budget. Maybe the issue is that your financial margin is thin, and the old budget was hiding that from you. That is a painful insight, but it is a useful one. Because once you see the real problem, your decisions start getting better. You stop treating every rough month like a moral failure. You stop assuming more discipline will solve what more margin needs to solve. And you stop confusing a neat plan with a resilient one. A stronger money system usually has 3 layers. The first layer is fixed obligations, the bills you know are coming. For some people, that might be $2,800 a month. The second is true expenses, the non-monthly costs that are still part of your life. That might be another $200 to $300 once you average them out honestly. The third is flexibility, a little space so not every surprise turns into stress, credit card drift, or self-blame. Even $200 to $300 of real breathing room changes how a month feels. That does not mean the answer is to make the budget complicated. In many cases, the better move is the opposite. Fewer categories, better buffers, more honesty. And here is one practical way to size that cash honestly. If your true expense categories add up to about $250 a month, then building even a $750 to $1,000 buffer for those uneven costs can make the system noticeably calmer. It is not magic. It just gives normal life somewhere to land. You do not need 27 budget lines to feel in control. You need a plan that reflects the shape of your real spending. So here is a practical way to test whether your budget is actually strong. Ask yourself this. If one normal but uneven expense shows up this month, does my plan bend or does it break? Not a catastrophe, just a normal adult life expense. A repair, a gift, a renewal, a school cost, a travel need, a medical bill. If one of those shows up and the entire month falls apart, that does not automatically mean you are irresponsible. It may just mean the budget was only designed to survive a calm month. Budgeting is not useless, but a budget that only works when life behaves is not doing the full job. The goal is not to produce a beautiful month on paper. The goal is to build a money system that can survive ordinary life without making you feel like a failure every time the calendar gets expensive. Because a strong budget is not the one that looks the cleanest. It is the one that still works when the month gets messy. If you want more videos that make money decisions feel clearer and more realistic, subscribe. And if you want to see how the same logic applies to big purchases, watch my video on why getting approved is not the same as affording it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the path.